stacking my coin, stacking my coin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Since I was born, been stacking my coin. These niggas pop, my money keep growing. The girl is a dot, she all on my groin. She blowing my horn, we fuck like porn. These rappers is whack, they lyrics is corn. I'm getting this money, they never get born. I'm loading my strap, they calling law. Fuck around and you clap for running your jaw. If it ain't about the dollars, then it don't make sense. Got me dipping brown water, but it ain't from Flint. Trying to chase all this bread, though the shit won't last. About to shut the city down like a crypto crash. Stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash.
Smoking on that crippy got me cliff high. Steam pot, heat rock, slingshot. Surfing through the city while them chips rise. Hot boy, do it big time. LMA with my summer bay, we booed up. Cali hit the bay, we fly MIA, we booed up. Sipping on this drink, bitch, I know the way. We juiced up, nigga violate till it's AFK like Jerufa. Coin daddy about them chips, nigga, rap snacks. Face all in a box, nigga, Snapchat. Fucking with the ops to get you clapped back. No cat, nigga, back.
Stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, stacking my coin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash.
Yo, I thought I only did this YouTube shit. Check this. Yo, is he a Crip? Is he a Blood? Stupid. Is Bitcoin crashing? I'm calling it FUD. I've been stacking crypto coins before Big Worm was around, before the Krakens, Coinbases, Polar Nexus, BitMexes. I'm the man in this town. I've been wearing this crown from 7 Mile to Belle Isle, Telegraph to Mile. I done traded it all from Looney yen to pound. I was stacking them coins when the Mayan niggas was around. 2012 to be exact. In December, that's a fact. I told my nigga John now, Bitcoin mining where it's at. And ever since then, a young crypto nigga been paid. I don't know about y'all, but I love that phrase. I be
Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, nigga.
looking for a reliable crypto exchange? Look no further than Fairdesk.com. Trusted by Crypto Blood for over 2.5 years, Fairdesk powers Bloodalytics, his proprietary trading system known for highly accurate buy and sell signals. CB has trusted Fairdesk's reliable system for years to enhance his trading strategy with Bloodalytics. It's the backbone of consistently beating the market. So join CB and trade with confidence. Use the link in the description below and get 1 month free of Bloodalytics signals. Fairdesk.com. Trade smarter, trade better.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Okay. Ready?
Fucking thing sucks! We'll do it live.
Okay. We'll do it live. All right, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and we've got an off-the-chain episode, and let me stop that before it plays, and it did it anyway. Round of applause. Oh, man, it's been one of those types of days. We've got two of my favorites in the space. Rice TVX and Seth MineYourBiz. You guys got to unmute. There we go. There we go. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on?
Another,
seeing you. Jeez.
Yeah, another nothing burger episode for Jerome Powell. Am I correct?
More time spent together. Either way, it's quality time, my friends.
That's right, Seth. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. This is the highlight of my week. And for anybody who's been with MineYourBiz over the last 6 years of this YouTube journey and of this creator journey, this has been the craziest year. Hey, we told everyone here told everybody this cycle was going to be a little bit different. And for me, on the content side, yeah, no exception. A little bit different. So thanks for having me.
No problem.
As
Absolutely,
always, man. We appreciate you, man. Glad you could make
Absolutely.
it. We weren't 100% sure based off what you said. Me and Blood were equal. We thought opposites, but you're here.
He was cryptic in his explanation of whether or not he would be here.
Let me give a little bit of background so you know what I'm working with these days.
Well, you don't even look like you've been sleeping. That's the that looks like part of the problem. You look like
here's the thing,
wide awake, Jack over there on something.
The grind doesn't stop.
Is that a neuro link on your head?
I think it is. It's becoming a Borg.
These are bone conduction headphones, and they're a slight augmentation. I'm baby stepping my way into becoming a cyborg.
I see.
I have a pair of those. Yeah. I feel you. They're cool. They're cool headsets.
For mindfulness, nothing beats them, man. Seriously. So, and that's been necessary for me lately. The stress levels are like doing this while the market's just doing this, right?
Right.
So it's something else. But yeah, again, thank you.
Well, ladies and gents, today, it's Jerome Powell's day. He's going to do it again. He's going to shock and awe us with nothing burgers. Word salads like our friend Kamala Harris.
Obama.
Well, he's unburdened by
Obama.
Obama. Yeah. Got to get that right.
Yeah, got to get it right. Sorry. Hey, Obama.
We got to pull up that CME tool real quick on screen so everybody can see that. So this is obviously kind of what the market has been predicting. And basically, if we look right here, our current target rate is the 525 to 550. So 525 to 550. And they're calling for basically a 98% chance now of it staying the same. Now we have 3 more meetings after today. That would be September 18th will be the announcements of the FOMC meeting, because it's always a 2-day ordeal. So we have September 18th, November 7th, and then December 18th. A lot of people are obviously anticipating September. That's something that me and you talked about with Gareth Soloway the last time we had him on. And if we go to the September projection, you can already see that if I can click on September correctly, you can see that there's an 89% chance of a 500 to 525, which would be a rate cut. There's a 10% chance of 2 rate cuts taking place in September. And then if we go to November, we're definitely seeing more action as far as rate cuts. So this is all in relation to rate cuts because it's under the current rate, and December as well. So basically they're calling for December. A lot of people are calling for the rates to be down potentially to 450 to 475 from where we are now.
So they end up leaving it unchanged, Rice, and I'm just gonna bring it up right now on the stream. Let's check it out.
Into better balance rather than just have moved into better balance. And the committee says it's attentive to risks on both sides of the mandate, not just highly attentive to the inflation risk, which it had been saying for quite some time. They did continue to say that there won't be cuts, or that they don't believe that there should be cuts until they have greater confidence of inflation moving towards a 2% goal. But they did talk about jobs and inflation. Let me go through that. They said job gains have moderated. That's a downgrade from remain strong in the prior statement. They noted the rise in the unemployment rate, but added that it remains low. They previously just said that the unemployment rate remains low. The statement notes an improved outlook on inflation, saying it has eased and remains somewhat elevated, adding the word somewhat. So they're less concerned, as you can see, with the inflation level. I said there's been some progress towards the 2% target, not just modest further progress. Guys, I'll leave it there with really it's a change in the balance of risks, I would say, from one where they clearly indicated they had their keen eye and highly attentive to inflation. Now they're watching both sides of the mandate. But I wouldn't say they guarantee a rate cut in the next meeting. They maybe just laid the groundwork for one if they feel it's necessary and the data cooperate between now and the September meeting. Tyler?
All right, Steve, thank you very much. Stick around as we get back to our panel for some reaction there. I think
all right, so
Stephanie, Steve has characterized
absolutely
it well.
Nothing. It's just we may and we may not.
This is what I was expecting anyways. A lot of people were. I mean, it's summertime. And here's the other thing too that I really wasn't expecting, and I'm not sure if it really has like technically any effect. But we had talked before, like the Federal Reserve seemed like they would be trying to do things as we got closer to the selection process to make everything look better, blow some smoke up the general American ass public, the general public's ass is what I meant to say. So But with Biden technically dropping out and there not being a sitting president who's running, the Fed aren't really pressured from a political perspective. Now, whether Kamala will still try to do that regardless, because she is the sitting vice president. So it depends. I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to watch. It kind of seemed like the Fed didn't have anything that they had, like I said, any pressure aside from just the public, which that's not pressure for them because they're the ones who control the situation.
Yeah, no, not only that, but I mean, it's very obvious that I'm speaking of not having any pressure right now. They don't feel any pressure to do anything for anyone on any level in any branch. Like you said, we have a sitting vice president who is acting as president, who is now magically, I mean, this is like magic, getting all of the DNC's sweeping support. People who were just absolutely calling things for what they were in terms of her abilities just a few weeks ago are now all Team Harris. Makes no sense, but they know that everybody on the left of center in the United States, if they fake it long enough, they're going to make it into office with her as their new, puppet. So yeah, you're right. They have to pretend like things are pretty much okay and business as usual. And anybody who says otherwise, anybody who points to our situation being, less than ideal is going to be told like, oh no, they're fudding. United States is great. Nothing to see here. Don't look behind the curtain. Don't pay attention to the cabal.
Do you believe in magic? That's all I got to say.
A few comments I want to highlight here. We've got Red River saying FOMC going to keep teasing rate cuts. I agree. Yeah, they're going to keep dangling that carrot as long as they possibly can,
but it really does look like everything is pointing towards September. I mean, when the markets can price that kind of in, and the CME tool is definitely a good indicator, I would say that September. And it's ironic because the Green Day song "Wake Me When September Ends."
Well, that means that we should start to see markets move up then, right?
I don't know, because you remember what even Gareth and others have said about I think it was Gareth. I know also Lynette Zhang, but when the Federal Reserve cuts rates, it doesn't necessarily. It's not necessarily.
It's a bad signal. Yeah, right. Yeah, it is. But the initial
reaction is going to be positive. Yes, but when reality sinks in for a minute, then it starts to. Starts to have its effect, its bleeding effect.
I agree.
It's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, that's why we've said, and I think Seth would agree, that all signs are pointing to yes as far as a crash of the system. I mean, even Donald Trump has already said, but he said, if I'm not elected, that we're going to see a depression worse than 1929. But really what he should have said is, whether I'm elected or not, we're going to have some crappiness go on. I'm not sure if it's going to be as bad as 1929, but it could be. So don't blame me.
Yeah. I mean, you've heard me say it for about 2 years now, maybe 3. And I say it's my favorite phrase: invest in precious metals, but primarily lead and brass. But another really good one is tin foil. If you don't know how to reuse that shit, learn. Your grandparents knew how, and there was a reason. So,
or go down to the street corner and maybe some old school freebaser will be able to teach you how to do some tricks with some tin foil.
I was thinking more like food preservation.
I was given a nice piece of silver while at the Litecoin conference. Somebody gifted this to me, so I appreciate them.
Nice. Shout out to the last piece to the puzzle. Thanks for the $2 super chat. Greatly appreciate it. You are on the wheel next week, my friend.
The goat. What kind of goat are you? Are you a nanny goat?
I'm a billy goat. Tails.
You could be a mountain goat.
Are there black goats?
Yeah, there's black sheep.
Black sheep. There you go.
Black goat.
Why wouldn't there be black goats?
I'm a black goat, baby.
What if I told you? What if I told you that most goats are black?
Oh. What if I told you
most of the goats of the modern world?
What if I told you, Seth, most humans are black?
What? Yeah, you should have heard me yesterday. I was talking about this. I was like,
no
way. So, real quick, people are really commenting on Kamala right now. I know she's in the news. We got Megan. Not at all. Megan Thee Stallion has been spotted with her tongue out, with Kamala Obama is what I like to call her now. I mean, guys, what do you think about this whole situation in her? Does she even have a chance? I did see a poll this morning saying that Trump was up by like 22 points.
I've heard. I guess it depends on what news source you're looking at and what poll you're looking at, because it seems like there's polls. I haven't seen them. I've heard from other people that there's polls showing that Kamala is leading, which just absolutely seems asinine if you just think about it, because it's like, it just doesn't make no sense. So you sent me an awesome link from Joe Brown, right?
Joe Brown. Did you watch it?
Yeah. Now
Seth, I'm gonna have to send it to you, bro.
He has said this before. He was on PBD.
Yeah, he said this before,
and he's been on other podcasts because he's talked about the relationship of some of these celebrities and politicians
Willie.
Yeah, to also to royalty is around the world. So it's pretty interesting the stuff that he shares and their perspective. But what was cool about that video that you gave me or sent me yesterday was he does mention Steve Mnuchin and One West Bank.
Yes, that's when I sent it to you. I sent it to you when he said that.
Okay, because we talked about that. That was yesterday. Yeah, that was part of our.
But I didn't realize Mnuchin was in Biden's. Not Biden's. Obama's.
I didn't either, because I didn't really pay attention to politics then. Didn't really care. So it was really once I started getting involved in the cryptocurrency space that I really started to pay attention to it, because it seemed it was going to have a huge effect, which obviously it has, being that it's a threat to the system.
John Hill, aka Default, says markets look cooked. There's a gap on the NASDAQ 100 futures at 19.76.0. Maybe get there and then die. Memories.
No, we still have everything bubble still has a little bit more room to inflate.
Yeah.
Not much.
Shout out to the influx of members, not by choice but by gift. I appreciate you guys. About, I think, 60 new members gifted.
Nice.
This week. So shout out to
if that doesn't help with the algo, I don't know what will.
It doesn't. And I think Trade Intuition gave some gifts. The Blockchain Report gave some gifts. Man, I appreciate each and every one of you. So what else is on your radar, Rice, at this point, man? Like, where do we go from here?
I think we should start really focusing on building on solutions, alternatives to just the systems that we use today. Because if we think what is coming, and we know it's coming, we need to be preparing for that. And I think instead of talking
that sounds real Kamala there, buddy.
No, it does not. I'm saying we need to build, as far as algorithm, building these ways for us to be able to utilize counter economics, to utilize the free market properly. We need to be able to create these systems, and then we need to do this using these decentralized blockchains, Bitcoin, and others. And this is, again, going back to the stuff that Whitney Webb and Mark Goodwin have been talking about, because it's like how we talked yesterday about these technologies being a tool, how blockchain and cryptocurrency itself is not inherently good or bad.
Correct.
But it depends on who's utilizing the technologies and who's creating and who's utilizing. Because if all we have is centralized entities creating, then we're going to live in that closed source loop that we're stuck in. Otherwise, it's people are participating more in these open source decentralized projects and building upon them. I think, we're building an alternative system for what is coming. And I think it's very important that we do that while we still can.
I agree with you.
That should be really the focus at this point. We know shit's going to hit the fan. It's just how soon is it going to do it, and how prepared can you get between now and then, because you didn't get prepared as much as you should have already.
I agree on a very profound level there. Rice has been the thing that I've really loved about kind of seeing the journey of Rice, Blood, getting to know the two of you a bit as we've gone to events and have done collabs and things, and seeing how everyone's been doing this creator journey in this weird space, right? Where there's almost an inverse incentive, right? If you give away alpha, there can be zero sum logic, right? You can cause problems for yourself down the line as a creator. Publishing alpha too early, And then also, if you publish an unpopular opinion by talking about this technology, there can be an inverse incentive because you draw the attention of regulators or just people who curate these existing platforms like YouTube, like Twitch, like the others. So like, it's kind of thankless sometimes. It's really what does Wesley Snipes say in the new Deadpool movie? Some motherfuckers are still trying to ice skate uphill, and that's like crypto publishing, dude. Like there's
Wesley
a lot of
Snipes is in a Deadpool movie.
Spoiler alert! There you go. I stole
Cool.
his best line. He brought it back.
Nice.
But
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I didn't know he was in the movie.
I didn't either.
No, and dude, he's brilliant. They brought Blade back, and it's worth it just for that one cameo. So, but I mean, there's a reverse incentives, inverse incentives, and building these systems in public is really difficult. I think Satoshi had it right. I think that Nicholas von Saberhagen, the person who created the Monero white paper, got it right. Some of these people just faded into legend, and they left us amazing tooling to build that future. But man, have the public faces taken some arrows? I mean, they nabbed Roger Ver in Spain. They picked up Fluffy Pony here in the States.
At the Bitcoin conference 2024, apparently Samurai had a booth. Now, after everything had happened, they decided not to let them have their booth. I don't know what happened with the funds, if they got returned. I'm sure they did, but what had happened apparently, and I didn't have a chance to find them, but they were strategically, people from Samurai Wallet were strategically like basically just kind of like popping up like a little booth here and there at the conference, and then giving out shirts, free Samurai, talking about the Samurai Wallet. So it was really sad to see the conference not support what they're doing and not allow them to technically be a booth. But they were literally doing like guerrilla boothing. It was like they would just, if you think about flash mob dancing, it was like flash mob boothing. They would set up like, I guess, like some temporary booth. They had shirts, they gave them out. They popped the booth down to get rid of the shirts. They move on to another spot. And they're apparently doing that in the conference and outside the conference. I just never had a chance to find them. So it is really sad. And I had a lot of people complain to me, not that it should have been brought up, because not that it would have been brought up, but a lot of people are talking about Trump and Reggie Middleton. Now, like Trump should have mentioned Reggie Middleton in this speech, and Trump should come to his aid when it comes to his league. And that's kind of what I'm getting
Trump
at.
Has no.
But I've had several people reach out to me and talk to me about that. I mentioned that because Mr. Sekulos is Reggie M, and it just made me think about that.
Yeah, I see that. I just Trump's not going to mention that. Now, Rice, we did
Where's
the reaction.
Is he doing anything yet? Sorry.
Should be on at 2:30.
Okay. Cool. Sorry.
Yesterday, guys, we did a reactionary to or a recap of the experience at Bitcoin 2024 for Rice, and we looked at the presidential speech from Trump.
You got to watch the video to learn about it.
You got to watch the video to know what the hell that's all about right there.
I'm telling you too, Seth. I think it's in the first half hour, but yeah, watch the video from yesterday to find out the story about my favorite souvenir from Bitcoin 2024.
Hey, that's not what I was expecting to see brought back from Nashville, where two presidential candidates were speaking.
That's why you need to go watch the video. It's great. But I wanted to get your take on, Seth, on the speech. We didn't have you on yesterday, but I just want to kind of get your recap of it.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I listened to both, of course, as you have to, right, in our industry, and as an American who's interested in crypto. Frankly, I don't get the international hate. I mean, y'all can be critical of these candidates, but don't pretend like American politics don't affect you. When America sneezes, you will catch a cold. In fact, when America sneezes, you might catch a jab and fucking die. So pay close attention, right? This stuff matters. So with Trump, what I saw was equal parts promises and veiled threats. I actually did that. That was my takeaway. And this is, as a person who, I don't have a lot of strong criticisms of the way that Trump ran the economy during his 4 years in office, but I do have very strong criticisms of the way he treated crypto people towards the end of his time there. And the fact that, I mean, we were all publishing.
Forget that.
Some of us, Blood, you were publishing throughout his entire presidency. You're the only person on the stream that from start to finish, you were streaming every day of Trump's presidency.
Yeah.
And by the end, how many people were begging this guy to free Ross and say, hey, look, maybe you're a lame duck. Maybe you don't get the next one, but don't kick the can down the road. These things matter to Bitcoiners and to crypto people. Pay attention to Reggie Middleton. Pay attention to some of these other cases that have become higher profile on your watch. They matter to crypto people. And he just bowed out. In fact, if anything, he was antagonistic while he had the power to make change. It would have been trivial.
I don't think he hadn't swallowed the orange pill yet.
No.
And I'm not even saying that he swallowed it now, but at least it's in his mouth and he's ready to swallow. Take a gulp. Pause, no diddy. But you get what I'm saying. Like, he was complete like, this is a threat to the dollar. I remember him on CNBC saying that, right?
Yes.
And I said I have zero confidence that Trump will be an orange pillar because it's not in his best interest as a American Western culture capitalist to really be on that side of Bitcoin, because that kind of limits nations.
Side story real quick. Put it on screen real quick. Yesterday I told you I was saving my voice Monday for this interview I was going to do on Tuesday. That producer that I had met that brought me on a couple of RT shows got me invited on this thing called Perspective. I forget this lady's name. It's like Scotty Nell Hughes or Scotty something to that effect. I might have had it right there. Well, what happened was one of the guests on the show ended up being this guy, Steve Stockman, who I've never heard of. And he was a congressman or senator. I think it was a senator, it says here. Yeah, or it served as both. Or just congressman. I got it right. It was Congress. So he served in Congress in Texas from 95 to 97, and then from 2013 to 2015. And it says he was convicted of 23 in 2018. He was convicted of 23 felony counts related to money laundering and misuse of campaign contributions. He was sentenced to serve 10 years in prison and was ordered to pay $1 million in restitution. But on December 22nd, 2020, Donald Trump commuted Stockman's prison sentence. He didn't do it to Ross, didn't do it for Ross Ulrich, and there was pressure at the time, and I'm bringing it up because what Seth said, but he commuted this guy's sentence who was convicted for being guilty of money laundering and misusing campaign funds. I had no clue that was who I was on a show with. I thought that was pretty damn interesting.
Very interesting.
But he's got very libertarian views, actually. He kind of reminds me of like in the Ron Paul camp as far as his views. So he had a lot of really intelligent things to say.
Again, I think yes, I'm with you guys. He didn't do anything for crypto in regards to
anything.
He didn't do anything.
No.
But the caveat to that is now that he's spoken, now that he's been at the conference, now that he's made some promises, now I have to see if he's going to show up and prove and
like
make words. Actually make word on his make action on his word. So
here's the thing.
I saw that about Gary. Gary called him.
He made some threats. Yeah. Anyway.
I saw him a couple times at the event. Everybody seemed to be cock jocking him and stuff, and I didn't even bother to say, hey.
Let me join the small army. I've had a couple opportunities to spend some time with Gary, and I've got to say I'm actually impressed. Because he's also one of those late stage orange pill guys who the moment he did get it, he said, oh shit, I can't stay out. I have to get in. And the way he did it was by admitting that he didn't understand it, kind of boomer entry into Bitcoin. He said, well, I don't want to get in trouble by diving into this asset class I don't want to approach this the wrong way. So he bought a controlling interest, co-founder level interest in a tax preparation company that specializes in Bitcoin and crypto taxes. Because he was like, I just don't want to fuck this up. So in my experience with Gary Cardone, I've come to, with each experience, I come to respect him more. I'll put it that way. You might think he's just grifting, but I think I know him better than that.
Well, no, it's just, I mean, with the fact that how everybody was surrounding him, like he was like just some huge celebrity or something. I didn't want to like be one of those people at the moment.
He is.
I wouldn't be against talking to the guy, but Rice,
let's get him on your channel. He's that dude that if you just ask, he'll show up and
I'm sure he knows you because he's been on Around the Blockchain. He knows both of us, I'm sure. He's watched
Cardone. He was on Around the Blockchain.
Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, his brother Grant, he's been trying to win him over, but Grant is a bit of a Harris fan, so
I also heard
they're being
very
careful about this.
Grant Cardone is a Harris fan.
That's the last I saw. Is that he's
I'm
putting
very
his weight behind
shocked at that. Wow, I didn't know that. He comes off as more conservative, but maybe not.
Right. Well, and I'm not sure what the connections are there. I'm not sure. That's the other thing that I've come to find out after talking with Gary just a couple times. Had a couple of sidebars with him, and then in Austin, it was super cool. After the Karate Combat event,
I saw
some of the hallway just chatted. Yeah,
he hung out with Bozak and Miggy, so he's got to be cool.
Yeah,
not saying nothing against Bozak and Miggy, but you know, if you're going to hang out with those guys looking like those guys, you got to be cool.
He's cool.
I love
Gary's
you guys,
cool.
but
it's not that he's got to be cool. He's just gotta be. He's not superficial.
Ken
Put it
Bozak
to you that way, right?
Correct. Yeah,
he's not superficial.
Yeah, no, he's a real person.
I mean, I'm just saying, Ken Bozak looks like when he wants to be anally probed going through security wherever he goes. That's the vibe he gives off. So,
wow,
it's like, hey, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Hey, Gary's cool, but he's not quite that
cool.
His
little diamond hand up. With
right. I don't think he's that cool. I'm not gonna put that on him, but alrighty.
Yeah. All right. How do we walk this back?
I don't think we can.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's out there, but
the good thing is we're like 5 minutes away from our favorite Jerome Powell, which is great. Right. You know, we're all looking forward to Chur Powell. You know, he always brings about some entertainment. We get to also judge these microphone performances. Which
the microphone judge, that's the part of it, the highlight of the whole stream every time, guys. So if you don't know,
we need scorecards.
We do need scorecards. Next time, let's have scorecards. Seriously, let's have scorecards ready, and we'll give a score from 1 to 10, or is it 0 to 10? How does that work?
There's always
probably in their case,
there's something you have to add into it though, because then 1 to 10 doesn't really kind of justify whether or not they're afraid of the microphone or don't like microphones or like microphone or like them too much.
Love black microphones.
I mean, I guess it could be based on how much you like the microphone would be how we judge how our scaling would be, but that would be, it's not rated on performance. And performance is a big part.
Performance is
performance can affect some more than others.
I need some effects now, man. You guys are like trumping me over here.
I gotta get you a soundboard, man. So I use an inexpensive soundboard. Just
what do
mixer,
you use?
But like, so I actually use one of the Pile mixers, and it's mostly analog with just some analog like reverb effects. But it's because I'm paranoid, dude. I can pull the plug out of it, and my computer can't listen to me anymore.
What are those like small kind of? There's like boxes with buttons. There's a company that
Stream Deck.
Yeah, I had looked into a couple of those.
Yeah, that's what I use. So
okay,
we're getting a slight pullback on Bitcoin right now. We'll probably get more movement after the meeting.
Where's our next?
Begin to digest.
I've been hearing, just listening to a couple different perspectives, that we do have a CME gap, I believe, somewhere around the 59 area, really? Maybe. Yeah, I think we have one in 39 too, but not. It's been like more of like a 96% as far as, but yeah, as far as filling the gaps, I believe we have a 59 gap, like a gap in the 59s.
Please,
is Elmo sitting in
Elmo?
Is Elmo in 59?
Sitting right at 52.
Poor Elmo.
You need to get a wood chipper.
Only on this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Only on this channel.
You get the real Elmo.
Yeah, exactly.
Get a wood chipper for the real Elmo and be like,
right.
You know what happens when? Oh no. I mean, give the people what they want.
A mic muffler.
Mic muffler. Wow. So we'll see here. We got about 2 minutes before Jerome gets on the panel, the podium, I should say.
September,
what do you guys think?
Like
word salad. It's just gonna be we're just looking at this, but we might do that.
If we're under the impression that we're going to see a September rate cut, I think that we're going to see some very dovish language kind of indicating that. but it doesn't mean that it has to be, because there's probably some sort of, I don't exactly have his schedule, Jerome Powell being, but I'm sure he's going to have some sort of public meeting, some sort of something where he says more words beyond today and between September, which again, if I pull up the CME, we're looking at September 18th.
Okay.
So that's, we got 2 months, basically, a month and a half.
Here's a question for you guys from press. Since we've been in the range so long, do you think regardless of where we top out at in the next bear market, our bottom will be in this range?
I mean, we've been range bound in a sense, if you want to think about it, for, you know, good 3-4 months, it looks like.
Well, typically, press, what happens with cycles when they're done with the previous all-time high is normally the new floor for the next cycle. So if we go up to 100 and whatever, 100,000, 160, 50, whatever it may be, the next floor should be around 70, 76. 70, 76, yeah, 69, somewhere around there. Now, how do you guys feel about us actually not touching all-time highs on Bitcoin with inflation adjusted? You've been hearing that float around for a while, right?
Well, it's just a fact. It's just a fact. And we've been, I mean, I think Blood, Rice, you two and myself, I think we've been some of the loudest voices saying that over the last 2 years, as even as the last bull market peaked and people were euphoric over 69K Bitcoin. And it's like, wait a second, like inflation adjusted, what are we really excited about right now? Because 20K Bitcoin was cool. 69 Bitcoin doesn't compare quite to 20K Bitcoin at 69K.
Right. If you look at it,
returning to that, it's definitely not the same.
Well, that's the interesting thing, though, because like when you know, I talk to people about as far as hedging against the dollar, obviously crypto is one of those things, but I'm a big proponent of gold and silver. And I'm always telling people you don't invest in gold and silver to expect a return on your investment. You just expect to keep your investment. You know, you're preserving what you have. It's not to maintain the wealth. And that's kind of, in a sense, where Bitcoin is going. Bitcoin is almost going in that same position of, you don't get in Bitcoin to get rich. You just get in Bitcoin to keep what you got.
So now, this is my question.
I think long term, I'm wrong as far as that statement. Long term.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, I wonder how many people.
Well, yeah. What is a dollar going to be? What is a dollar going to be when Bitcoin hits $1 million? What's a dollar going to be able to buy us at that time? How much?
Right.
How much is a Big Mac going to cost us then?
Yeah. Right. We're all going to be millionaires before you know it. Being a millionaire in Venezuela sucks ass.
Right. So. Zimbabwe millionaires. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, though. You brought up a point about, you know, like the last high being 69K. And we barely got there. Inflation adjusted is not there as far as an all-time high. What was the inflation adjusted all-time high currently, Seth? Do you know?
It really depends. So here's where it depends on which numbers we want to use as the basis for inflation, because CPI was a goddamn lie. And we were suffering double digits for 2 years straight. So if you're
way
a
higher,
calculus brainiac, yeah.
Yeah,
it'd be way higher. Interesting. All right, let's get to Jerome Powell. He is on deck now, so let's see what he has to offer us as word salad today.
We are maintaining our restrictive stance of monetary policy in order to keep demand in line with supply and reduce inflationary pressures. We are attentive to risks on both sides of our dual mandate, and I will have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has continued to expand at a solid pace. GDP growth moderated to 2.1% in the first half of the year, down from 3.1% last year. Private domestic final purchases, or PDFP, which excludes inventory investment, government spending, and net exports, and usually sends a clearer signal of underlying demand, grew at a 2.6% pace over that same period, the first half. Growth of consumer spending has slowed from last year's robust pace, but remains solid. Investment in equipment and intangibles has picked up from its anemic pace last year. In the housing sector, investment stalled in the second quarter after a strong rise in the first. Improving supply conditions have supported resilient demand and the strong performance of the U.S. economy over the past year. In the labor market, supply and demand conditions have come into better balance. Payroll job gains averaged 177,000 jobs per month in the second quarter, a solid pace, but below that seen in the first quarter. The unemployment rate has moved up, but remains low at 4.1%.
Lies.
Strong job creation over the past couple of years has been accompanied by an increase in the supply of workers, reflecting increases in participation among individuals aged 25 to 54 years and a strong pace of immigration. Nominal wage growth has eased over the past year, and the jobs to workers gap
I'm
has
actually
narrowed.
go grab a little steak salad to go
Overall,
along
a broad
with the
set
word
of
salad.
indicators suggest that conditions in the labor market have returned
don't
to
have any
about where
popcorn.
they stood on the eve of the pandemic. Strong, but not overheated. Inflation has eased notably over the past 2 years, but remains somewhat above our longer run goal of 2%. Total PCE prices rose 2.5% over the 12 months ending in June. Excluding the volatile food and energy categories, core PCE prices rose 2.6%.
And just for the record, I'm breaking kosher by drinking
as
something
reflected
that has
in a
milk
broad
in it
range
with
of surveys
my steak.
of households
Sorry,
and
guys.
businesses and
Milk in
forecasters,
steak?
as well as measures from financial.
I'm breaking kosher. You slap my
My
wrist later.
colleagues and I
didn't
are
know you were
acutely aware
Jewish.
that high inflation imposes significant
break
hardship
kosher?
as it erodes purchasing power, especially for those least able to meet the higher costs of essentials like
so
food,
confused.
housing, and transportation. Our monetary
glad I'm not
policy
your belly,
actions
though.
are guided by our dual mandate to promote maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. In support of these goals, the committee decided at today's meeting to maintain the target range for the federal funds rate at 5.25% to 5.5%, and to continue reducing our securities holdings. As the labor market has cooled and inflation has declined, the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals continue to move into better balance. Indeed, we're attentive to the risks to both sides of our dual mandate. We have stated that we do not expect it will be appropriate to reduce the target range for the federal funds rate until we have gained greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably toward 2%. The second quarter's inflation readings have added to our confidence, and more good data would further strengthen that confidence. We will continue to make our decisions meeting by meeting. We know that reducing policy restraint too soon or too much could result in a reversal of the progress we have seen on inflation. At the same time, reducing policy restraint too late or too little could unduly weaken economic activity and employment. In considering any adjustments to the target range for the federal funds rate, the committee will carefully assess incoming data, the evolving outlook, and the balance of risks. As the economy evolves, monetary policy will adjust in order to best promote our maximum employment and price stability goals. If the economy remains solid and inflation persists, we can maintain the current target range for the federal funds rate as long as appropriate. If the labor market were to weaken unexpectedly or inflation were to fall more quickly than anticipated, we are prepared to respond. Policy is well positioned to deal with the risks and uncertainties that we face in pursuing both sides of our dual mandate. The Fed has been assigned two goals for monetary policy: maximum employment and stable prices. We remain committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal and to keeping longer-term inflation expectations well anchored. Restoring price stability is essential to achieving maximum employment and stable prices over the longer run. Our success in delivering on these goals matters to all Americans. We understand that our actions affect communities, families, and businesses across the country. Everything we do is in service to our public mission. We at the Fed will do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. Thank you. I look forward to your questions.
Gina. Gina Smilek from the New York Times. Thanks for taking our question.
Mike time, ladies and
Markets
gentlemen.
pretty much entirely expect a rate cut in September at this stage.
Good grip.
She loves it.
I wonder if
She
you think
loves
that's
it.
a reasonable expectation, and
She
if
wants
so,
another one.
why not
She
just
wants
make
to
the
shove
move today?
that mic all the way down her throat.
Thank you. So,
Gentle but firm
in
grip.
September, let me
Handling
say
it
this.
like a pro.
We have made no decisions about future
sounds
meetings, and that
like
includes the
he's got a
September meeting. the broad sense of the committee is that the economy is moving closer to the point at which it will be appropriate to reduce our policy rate.
Can we bring down the gain on that?
In that we will be data dependent, but not data point dependent. So it will not be a question of responding specifically to one or two data releases. The question will be,
did they have the
totality of the data, the evolving outlook, and
did they have what?
Mentally challenged like myself?
Do they have
maintaining a solid labor market?
Hey, that's literally illegal. What are they doing?
Policy rate
English
could be on the table as soon as
it's only because we're watching on an illegal channel around
so website. More than that today, and I would just say again that the broad sense of the committee is that we're getting closer to the point at which it will be appropriate to reduce our policy rate, but that we're not quite at that point yet.
No, I enjoyed it. Misko, I wish more time.
So just to follow up on that a bit, if inflation behaves as you expect
between now and September, would you regard a cut in
I know what it's doing. I'm getting upset with it. I want to beat it up.
So I guess I would think about it this way.
Tomorrow I'm going to be cleaning.
I'll give an example of cases in which it would be appropriate to cut, and maybe that it wouldn't be appropriate to cut. So
I'll get you a simple mic on.
If we were to see, for example, inflation moving down,
like one of these guys,
quickly,
I'm using
or more or less in line with expectations.
The app I'm using for this
growth remains
is been replaced, and I haven't figured out how to use the other app. That's the problem. So it's just automatically dropping. It's dropping the gain down when I'm putting it on manual, because there's an auto level and there's a manual. When I'm on manual, it should stay the way that I have it.
We need to get you a manual mic.
I'm going to add this is analog if I had the soundboard.
Handle it.
This is USB, and it just dropped.
What are you doing to get it back up?
Help us make this.
I'm manually pulling the gain back up, and it just dropped back out. I've got a compressor on it. I want to take the compressor off. I want to take the compressor off and see if that does anything at all. It changes. Hello, pop, 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 pop. It looks like it's staying. Yeah, no, but it looks like it's not moving. It could have had something to do with that compressor that I had on.
Is it like a combo
but
compressor?
A compressor should automatically pull it back and not affect the level. That's the way I understood a compressor. Is it keeps it like at a steady.
Well, it's a ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
You can adjust the compression ratio, but
we're always 18 plus here. We don't allow children to technically watch our content. I had to scold some people in the past because of that. You remember that, Blood?
Yeah, I remember that.
I think I pissed off some people. They were like bad parents.
They were like, I've got my kids in the living room. I was like, oh man.
So we started doing
that's why we started doing the disclaimer audio, which we should have. We only do it on the uncensored. Wait. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we have a mic check.
Contestant.
Best guidepost for policy rather than, let's say, the shallower one laid out in the June SEP.
So I would just say real quick though. So she's a team player.
Really, the path ahead is going to depend on the way the economy
Olympic pass the torch.
I can't really give you any better forward guidance on it.
But I liked her.
We didn't, of course, do an SEP at this meeting. We will do another one at the September meeting. I would just say I can imagine a scenario in which there would be everywhere from 0 cuts to several cuts, depending on the way the economy evolves. And I wouldn't want to lay out a baseline path for you there today.
So far, all women, right?
Yeah, I think
so.
Like
DEI working real good today.
Yeah, there was 2 white ones though.
Oh,
they all look like they could be.
Now we got a guy.
Got to 2% to cut rates because of how inflation has lagged.
He's very comfortable.
Does
holding
that
the microphone
apply for the labor market too? If
it's
the labor market is
like
back in equilibrium, why is restrictive policy and potentially very restrictive policy?
Like he's ready to
point
it to somebody else.
It's
warranted
like,
right now.
I know I've got to do this to get more money.
So this is the very reason that we're thinking about that we've said in our statement that we're going back to looking at both mandates and that we think the risks are coming back into balance. We think what the data broadly show in the labor market
I'll get to this in a second. Last piece.
Gradual
I'll give you my analysis
of labor market conditions, and that's what we want to see. We've seen that over a period of a couple of years.
Going down.
A move really from overheated conditions to more normal conditions. We are watching the labor market conditions quite closely, and that's what we're seeing. If we start to see something that looks to be more than that, then we're well positioned to respond. that's part of what we're thinking.
And when you talk about seeing something that's more than whatever softness or slowdown you expect, in the past, you've said that stronger growth wouldn't
water bottle they have
override
on the tables
better
are
news
just
on
like
inflation.
Blue
I
Label.
wonder how that cuts the other way. If you're seeing more softness
Very calming.
in the labor market than
look at
what
all
you would
these
expect,
women's.
does
Look at all
that
these women.
change the calculus on what you're looking for out of the inflation numbers?
Yeah. It's like it's designed to calm you down.
So we have growth isn't one of our three. We have two mandates, as you know. The labor market, maximum employment is one, and stable prices is another.
They should have to do like
we
a
weigh
little
weigh
thing
those
like
two
rappers
things.
do when they pass the mic to each other. Because they're all passing.
I
the
do
mic.
rappers pass the mic to each other, actually.
Well, it's because they take turns, like the Beastie Boys. They pass the mic. They even have a song about pass the mic. So it's like after they're done talking and
They
they're doing
even
a little
focus.
thing,
So
they should be
we'll be
I'll
looking
pass
at,
the mic.
at labor market conditions and asking whether we're getting what we're seeing. And as I said, we're prepared to respond if we see it that it's not what we wanted to see, which was a gradual normalization.
This is
of
definitely a
conditions.
word
If we see more
salad.
than that.
Neutral
And it wouldn't
word
be
salad.
any one statistic, although of course the unemployment rate is generally thought to be a good single statistic, but we'd be looking at wages, we'd be looking at participation, we'd be looking at all the things, surveys, quits,
Is he trying to make Kamala
hires,
sound
all of
better?
those things to determine the overall status of the labor market. But we're looking at it now. I would say again,
Or are all
I
these
think
old people in
you're
early
back to
Alzheimer's?
conditions that are
Which one is it?
close to 2019 conditions, and that was not an inflationary economy. Broadly similar labor markets then. I think core inflation was actually running below 2%. So I don't now think of the labor market in its current state as a likely source of significant inflationary pressures. So I would not like to see material further cooling in the labor market, and that's part of what's behind our thinking. The other part, of course, is that we have made real progress on inflation, and we've got growing confidence there that we are not quite there yet, but we're getting more confident that we're
Not how progress on inflation
sustainable path
works. It's
down
not
to
that you
2%. So
decrease
those
the
two things are
inflation
working
rate
together,
back
and we're
down to a
factoring
manageable
those both into
level.
our
It's that
policy.
you've already caused the damage by having double-digit inflation for 2 years. You can't
Chris
put the
Rugaber,
genie back in the
Associated
bottle.
And
Press.
zero interest rates.
You mentioned not wanting to see any further cooling in the job market. Why not, or would you consider preemptive cuts to prevent if you saw risks of an unexpected cooling? Is that something you would cut ahead of time for?
So I wouldn't say I wouldn't want to see any other cooling. It would be more of a material difference. If we'd be looking at this, and if we see something that looks like a more significant downturn, that would be something that we would
You
we
must
would
have
have
got
the
laid last night.
intention of responding to.
You bought some coochie.
So in terms of, I don't think of it that way. I think of it as, we're actually in a good place here. We're balancing these two risks of, go too soon and you undermine progress on inflation, wait too long or don't go fast enough, and you put at risk the recovery. And so we have to balance those two things. That's the nature of having two mandates. And I think this is how we balance them. It's a rough balance, but it does feel like that. Again, the labor market feels like it's in a place where it's just a process of ongoing normalization. 4.1%.
I love Johnny B.
unemployment
Crypto.
is
If you
still
just look at his
historically
last two
low.
comments, he looks like he's confused
And
himself.
we'll just have to see what the data show us.
And just to follow quickly, wanted to see what you thought of the
two
recent
opposite
JOLTS
ends of the
report, which
spectrum.
did show
Prepare for the
hiring, gross
end
hiring
of
has
where's
come
my
down
Lamborghini?
even below 2019 levels.
You can eat a Lamborghini
Layoffs
if you-
remain
I mean,
low.
if you had
so
to.
it painted a picture of a very static labor market. Is that sustainable in your view, or something that is worrying? Thank you.
So I think all of the data points continue to point to kind of the direction we would want to see. So that was taken as there was a decline in job openings. That was good. Today's ECI reading was a little softer than expected. So that's a good reading. It shows that wage increases are still at a strong level, but that level continues to come down to more sustainable levels over time. That's exactly the pattern that we want to be seeing. So I think the data we've been seeing in the labor market are broadly consistent with that normalization process. Again, we're closely monitoring to see whether it starts to show signs that it's more than that.
Oh, Steve.
Steve Leisman, CNBC. Mr. Chairman, back in March, you talked about cutting rates as a process, and in June, you talked about the idea that, well, one rate cut
holding
wouldn't
it
do
with two
anything.
hands?
So I wonder if you can.
Oh, Steve Lee's, man, you
Kobe's
little
question.
gay bomb.
Talk about.
He was two-handing that mic.
Weighing
He's even
the
stroking
economy
it
right now
slightly.
in terms of its ability to understand multiple
what it looks
rate cuts.
like.
Talk us through the process that you're thinking.
Like
or is
he's
it just
caressing it and
one rate cut? Or are you in
stroking
a process now thinking?
What
that
are you
rates
doing,
normal?
Steve?
Thank you.
He's ready.
Yeah, I can't really say that honestly. You know, we've seen significant movement in the labor market, and we're very mindful of this question of is it just normalization or is it more? We think it's just more normalization, but we want to be in a position to support the labor market. At the same time, we're seeing progress on inflation. So, we actually got to this. We raised rates a year ago at the July meeting, and if you look at the situation in the economy a year ago, inflation was over 4%. It was a completely different economy. Now we've made a lot of progress, and the labor market has, I think, unemployment was in the threes, mid threes. So it's a different economy, and I think it's time. It's coming to be time to adjust that so that we support this continued process. The thing we're trying to do is, that we have we've had this really significant decline in inflation, and unemployment has remained low. And this is a really unusual and historically unusual and such a welcome outcome for the people we serve. What we're thinking about all the time is how do we keep this going? And this is part of that. We think we don't need to be.
That's what scammers think all the time too. How do we keep this going?
Exactly.
12-month headline at 2.5, core at 2.6. It's way down from where it was. The job is not done on inflation, but nonetheless, we can afford to begin to dial back the restriction in our policy rate. And I think we're just as part of a process. In terms of what that looks like, I think most rate, you would think in a base case that policy rates would move down from here, but I don't want to try to give specific, forward guidance about when that might be, because the pace at which it might happen, because I think that's really going to depend on the economy, and that's highly uncertain.
Rachel. Hi, Chair Powell with Rachel Siegel from the Washington Post. Thanks for taking our questions. On inflation, do the past few months of good reports look like what we saw last year, where you really had a lot of momentum with a few bumps in between? Would you characterize that kind of momentum as back on track at this point
She
in the year?
doesn't like the microphone.
Actually, what we're seeing now is a little better than what we saw last year. Last year, as we pointed out late in the year, a whole lot of the progress we saw last year was from goods prices, which were going down at an unsustainable rate, disinflating at an unsustainable rate. This is a broader disinflation. This has goods prices coming down, but we're also now seeing progress in the other two big categories, non-housing services and housing services. So, so the thing is, you got 1 quarter of that. We had 7 months of low inflation. You got 1 quarter of this. I would say the quality of this is higher, and it's good, but so far it's only a quarter. So I think we need to see more to know that we're to have more confidence that we're on a good path down to 2%. But as I mentioned, our confidence is growing because we've been getting good data. And things like the ECI report and, frankly, the softening in the labor market conditions, give you more confidence that the economy's not overheating. It doesn't look like an overheating economy. And it looks like an economy that's normalizing.
And if we were to think about the first couple of months of the year, is there any sense now that they were these blips that could have actually allowed for earlier rate cuts, as were some of the projections going into 2024?
So the thing about if what it is seasonality, and it could just be, it's very hard to do appropriate seasonal adjustments. If that's what it is,
excuses.
Then that actually implies that other months were
seasonality is the way they rig the numbers.
It's a zero-sum game, and that's why we look at 12 months. We look at 12 months because that takes all that out, all those effects out. 12-month now is 2.5% headline, 2.6% core. This is so much better than where we were even a year ago. It's a lot better. Now, the job is not done. I want to stress that, and we're committed to getting inflation sustainably down to 2%, but we need to take note of that progress.
What were you laughing about when I missed?
The risks to the labor market and the risks to our inflation target now more equally than we did a year ago.
That right there, buddy.
Michael McKee from Bloomberg Radio and Television. I'd like to ask you about the balance of risks
when did you turn
as
black?
the American people see it. At this point, is
He's not
the
black.
risk greater to leave interest rates where they are?
Dark white.
given the damage that higher interest rates do to the economy
Dark
in
white or
slowing
off-white,
demand and raising prices? Or is it more important for the American people that you keep rates where they are to bring inflation down?
I think that we've been given an assignment by Congress. This is how we serve the American people.
Yeah, man,
is
there are
by
white Jamaicans,
achieving
white blue-eyed,
maximum
blue-eyed
employment and price
Jamaicans.
stability, right?
Yeah,
And so in our
I learned that yesterday as well.
quasi-constitutional
Mhm.
document,
Yes, I learned that
yesterday. Goals and monetary policy strategy.
yesterday.
We look at the two goals, and
He's
if one
got
of them
such
is
an
farther away than
interesting
the other,
way he talks.
the two variables, inflation.
It was
and
listen.
employment,
I'm gonna
if one
pause
is
this.
farther-
And what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is an interview that I sent Rice to watch of Judge Joe Brown. Very, very interesting interview. I'll have to bring it up, but essentially he just Rice. It's like they pressed record and this guy just went go. He was like Peter Schiff, the black Peter Schiff. He just went
in the paint.
He just went going. It just never stopped.
He went
all
ham.
on Kamala.
He went ham.
He did, man. It was crazy.
Downside risks to
And the video's titled
to the
Kamala Harris is not
mandate
black. She's lazy
are real
and
now.
forced
So
to get what
we
she
have to
wants.
weigh all that. And if you think about where that
I got
takes us, is
it
we
screen
have a
shared.
restrictive policy rate. It's clearly restrictive. It's been the
We got a tweet from the Hodge twins if you want to pull it up. Some also on that.
Yeah, let me see.
The Hodge twins, yeah, they were relentless.
Check that one out, ladies and gents.
I'll drop the
back
link in
that level of restrictions,
private and
restrictions, so that we may address both mandates.
Well, you have event risk basically with the jobs report on Friday and another one before you meet again. Are you certain that you won't fall behind the curve and lead to unnecessary unemployment if you wait until September?
Certainty is not a word that we have in our business.
He's funny.
So, we get a lot of data between now and September, and it isn't going to be one data read or even two. It's going to be the totality of the data, all of the data, and not just it. And then how is that affecting the outlook, and how is it affecting the balance of risks? That's going to be the assessment that we do. Of course, we'll all look carefully at the employment report, but so much other data coming in, and so much happening between now and the September.
Jerome
meeting,
is
we'll
boring,
make
but
a judgment.
it's caught on FOMC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Edward Lawrence,
this
Fox Business. I do want to dig deeper on what Michael and
yeah, we don't want to catfish you guys. We would rather
to balance
do something more entertaining.
Inflation and jobs.
But we'll keep
Looking
it
at the job
on
sides, we've
script
seen
for
wage
now.
data show sort of an abrupt slowing. We're hearing on earnings calls from companies like Intel abrupt layoffs. In the jobs report from the BLS, government jobs has been a leading creator. Could the government jobs as a sector hiring mass?
I'm not sure what to
underlying
think about.
weakness
It's like he's
in the
holding
jobs
his
report?
own microphone.
Well, we'll look at everything. We've seen some tendency to have a narrowing base.
It
of
was
job
kind of
creation
like
in some
tilted
months,
outward.
back to
It was
some
like
months where
job
creation was broader. And also
yeah,
the headline
Jerome,
number of jobs
look
that's
at this
come about.
schlong.
So we would.
It was low. It was low, and it was like almost as if
private
you
demand extra
like he's
carefully.
hunched over
to your
and he
point
was
about
ready
government.
to just take it
So
into
we'll
his
just
own
be
mouth.
looking at
I'm
all
not
this.
sure if
So as a follow-up,
he's
then,
one of those
so
guys
could
who
the
has a
Fed then be
special
behind the
talent
curve?
that he
Because you
can
said some of the
put
reports
his own
last meeting. You
microphone
said
in his mouth.
the reports could be noisy or
Hey, so more
overstated.
power to him.
Was
Look,
there
he
a
looks like he
discussion
could
of
just
what
put
kind
his
of
head
discussion
down
was there for a cut
and
today?
have the microphone
And could
all
the
the way
Fed be
down his
behind the
throat.
curve?
Yeah. So.
Do you not see it?
Look, the objective
I
is
can't
to
unsee
balance the two risks, right? It's the risk of going too soon and the risk of going too late. We've been, we
He was holding
had
it pretty
7
low
months
and
What did you say,
inflation
Bryce?
at
I couldn't
the
hear
end of
you.
last year.
What did
We
you
said
say?
We wanted to see more. We said we pointed
What?
out that too much of this
What?
was coming from goods, and sure enough, the first quarter wasn't great. Inflation did, and now we've got a quarter that is good.
Something wrong with
And
those people.
we're balancing the risk of going too soon against the risk of going too late. That's what we're doing. There's no
Something wrong with
guarantee
you for watching
in this.
this
It's
as
a very
well.
difficult judgment call, but this is how we're making it. So, but in terms of today, your question about today, we did have we had a nice conversation about this issue today. The
Yeah, a very
overall
nice
sense of the committee,
conversation.
as I mentioned, is that we're getting closer to the point at which it'll be appropriate to begin to
End of
dial
May.
back restriction, but we're not quite at that point yet. We want to see more good data.
I think it's like
The decision was
27th,
unanimous.
29th.
All 19 participants supported it. But there was a real discussion back and forth of what the case would be for moving at this meeting. A strong majority supported
at the Venetian.
Not moving at this meeting. That was the strong sense of the committee. But it's a conversation that we had today, certainly.
Courtney. Courtney Brown from Axios. Thank you for taking our questions. When the Fed was raising rates, there was a lot of conversation about variable
silky
lag.
now.
I wonder if that applies.
They started
the
blocking
way
out the
down
hands
to.
just because
How
they know
are you
about
and
your
the committee
stream.
thinking about
Yep.
that?
That's it.
Yes, it does.
Can't even see her holding the
I think
mic.
the lags have kind of showed up here in the last 6 months, by the way. You really
It's 'cause
do
they
now
shoved
see
her
the
in the back.
restriction. Whereas, even a few months ago, people were questioning how
Her name's
restricted
Rosa
policy was.
Parks.
Look at the labor market now.
They
You
have
can see,
Rosa Parks.
and look at
Put her in the back so you can't see her.
rate-sensitive, interest-sensitive spending. You really do see now that
Rosetta
policy
Parks.
is restricted. I wouldn't say it's extremely restricted, but it's certainly
But it's a strange
effectively restricted.
coincidence
Yes,
that
Put her in the
there's-
bag of
the Asian lady
lag
back there, too.
should be on the way down.
weird.
It should take some time to get into the full economy,
Back
affect
of the
financial
journalism
conditions,
bus.
and that affects economic activity, hiring, and that kind of thing. Ultimately,
what's that
inflation does
for?
it. It's not
Everybody
instantaneous,
moves to the back
although
of the
it's faster
bus.
than it used to be because
No, only the
markets move
dark-skinned
now
people.
in anticipation of our moves.
So are you worried then that if
Still blocking the mic.
variable lags,
What
even
the
when you're lowering interest rates,
Now, you could
it
tell-
might be too late
Bro.
for the Fed to help
Oh, you can see
stave
the
off
tip.
any kind of slowdown in the
Yeah.
labor
Pause.
market. Or
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, we have to worry about that.
I'm not sure
you're
I'm not
just
sure. I don't think she
to
likes
make
the
it clear,
microphone.
it's a very difficult, challenging
Who's
judgment.
eager to get rid of it?
She may
and
be one of those
we don't want to go too soon.
non-microphone
We
lovers,
don't want to go too
Uh,
late.
She may.
But
she may
this is how we've made that judgment. I feel good about where we are.
I
We're
think I can
certainly
convert her.
very well positioned to respond to
wish
weakness
you
with
the
the
best.
policy
Blood.
rate at 5.3%. We certainly have a lot of room to respond if we were to see weakness. That's not what we're seeing though. What we're seeing, look at the first half growth numbers. Look at PDFP at 2.6%.
This
like
needs to
you
be
have it.
changed to FOMC locker room locker room live stream. There you
inside the locker room.
go. Oh my goodness, bro. Crazy.
By the microphone.
Wage increases are still at a high level. Unemployment is still at a low level. Layoffs are very low. Initial claims have moved up, but they're pretty stable, and they're historically not high at all. So the total scope of the data suggests a normalizing labor market. And again, we are carefully watching to see that continues to be the case.
Victoria.
Hi, Victoria Guido with Politico. On the labor market, I was wondering, how worried are you all about unemployment rising to the point where it triggers the
So you're not going to
rule?
show her?
They
And would
didn't
that
even give her-
potentially
You're
affect
not even
camera
going to
shot.
show her do her
rates?
work?
Come on, let's see this girl.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Not there.
No, it's just,
Oh,
well, she,
man.
So
it's because of the voice. It's
I would
'cause they
just say
didn't want to
the
give her any more
question
attention.
really is
I think
one
somebody's
of,
watching our
are we
stream.
worried about a sharper downturn in the labor
They
market?
have to
So-
be.
And the answer is we're watching
have
really
to be.
carefully for that.
Somebody at the
We're
Federal
aware
Reserve
of that
watching
rule,
it.
which is really a
Somebody's watching a poly
I
market
would call
bet
it
right now.
a statistical.
Maybe they're the ones who are mass reporting our channels. and keeping a
statistical
shadow man.
thing that has happened
Highly possible.
through
Highly,
history.
highly possible.
A statistical regularity is what I'd call it.
We don't have
It's not
fans
like
in
an
the Federal
economic
Reserve?
rule where it's
Why
telling you
not?
something must happen. So, again, what do we see? What are our eyes telling us? We look at all the things we're seeing.
Our eyes aren't telling us
and
nothing because I
what
can't
it
see
looks
the
like
lady
is a
without the
normalizing
microphone.
labor market. Again, job creation at a pretty decent level, wages moving up at a strong level, but coming down gradually. Job vacancies have come down, but they're still high by historical standards. So, again, I've been through some of the data already, but what we think we're seeing is a normalizing labor market, and we're watching carefully to see if it turns out to be more. It starts to show signs that it's more than that, then we're well positioned to respond.
Is there reason to think that the labor market might behave differently this time than it has historically?
I think, history doesn't repeat itself. It rhymes. I think that statement is very true about the economy. You never assume it's going to be just the same. An example would be, is there a trend increase in the level of vacancies? There are many, many examples. So it's never exactly the same. Also, let's remember that this pandemic era has been one in which so many, apparent rules have been flouted, like the
blood
inverted yield curve for
Me and
starters.
Stephanie passes.
So many pieces of received wisdom just haven't worked, and it's because the situation really is unusual or unique in that so much of this inflation came from the shutdown in the economy and the resulting supply problems in the face of admittedly very strong demand. So the whole situation is not the same as many of the other prior inflation or downturns that we've seen, or business cycles that we've seen. So we're having to learn, we're having to, to be very careful about the judgments that we make, I would say. So we don't assume that these regularities will just repeat themselves automatically.
Amir. Thank you, Chair Powell. I'm Mara Mokwe with Bloomberg. There seems to be quite a difference between what the anecdotal data are telling us, such as the very...
What happened? Why did I get... Yeah, I was wondering.
What in the world? Who is this, bro? I'm not.
I don't know, but these
Wait.
If these passes exist, I want a pass.
Wait a minute. Right?
No, I want
what the fuck is going
Do I gotta get in touch with the Hodge twins? I will reach out to them. I want my pass. Okay. I think I.
Bro, what the Seth? What is going on, bro? Are we in a simulation or are we in a simulation? Seriously,
the Hodge twins' favorite meme sparring partner. This gal gets like almost all comments from other stuff.
2.6%, and that's a good indicator of private.
I want to pass
a private demand. So
I know how we get a pass, Blood.
It does.
Yeah. And then
I'll call into the Hodge twins
data and not just look at the aggregate data, especially.
Yeah. I mean,
it's very hard. GDP data can be volatile quarter to quarter. So it's just hard to measure economic activity.
I know what you got to do.
There are a lot of. It's just difficult to do. So I look at both. But I wouldn't say that the anecdotal data is uniformly downbeat. It's more mixed.
Thank you.
This is crazy.
Jolene Kent with CBS.
Why doesn't he ever have water?
Thanks for taking our
I don't
questions
understand
today.
why he never has
you have
water with him.
consistently said that the Fed does not consider politics in
This
making
has gotta
decisions.
be AI.
With a possible September rate cut on the table, it would be less than 2 months before the
likes
election.
that
And former
microphone.
President
Look at
Trump
her.
reportedly said that cutting rates so close to the election is something the central
lady
bank
next to her is
knows
like, oh,
they shouldn't
Actually,
be
I'm
doing.
not sure if she needs
What's
another
your
or if
response,
she just
and do
likes
you believe it's
to
possible to really
use
remain
her hands
apolitical with a September
underneath
rate
my
cut?
microphone.
I absolutely do, and I think it's first of all, we haven't made any decisions. I would say it this way: haven't made any decision about any future
while
meeting.
holding the microphone
I don't
there.
know what the data will reveal
helps to
or
shape
how
the
that will
sound
affect
vibes coming
the
from the mouth.
appropriate path of our policy. I
Exactly.
really don't
It's all
know.
about the sound.
I do know how we will make that assessment. That's what I do know. So if you take a step back, the current situation again is inflation has come down much closer to our goal,
He's got his
and that's
glasses
happened
down.
while unemployment has remained low. We're very tightly focused on using our tools to try to foster that state of affairs continuing.
I am the captain
That's
now.
at each of our meetings and all of our decisions, our focus is strictly on that and really on nothing else, doing our part, whatever that part may be. We're using our best thinking. We're doing our best to understand the economy. We follow academics. We follow the many commentators who bless us with their commentary. But we don't change anything in our
talking about us,
approach
guys.
to address other factors like the political calendar. Congress has, we believe, ordered us to conduct our business in a non-political way at all times, not just some of the time. I'll say this too. We never use our tools to support or oppose a political party, a politician, or any political outcome. The bottom line is, if we do our very best to do our part and we stick to our part, that will benefit all Americans. If we get it right, the economy will be stronger, we'll have price stability, people will find jobs, wages will rise in real terms, everyone will benefit. So that's what we believe, and that's how we will always act. This is my 4th presidential election at the Fed. I can tell you this is how we think about it. This is what we do. So it's
like how he threatens us with
anything
the
that
fact
we
we
do
can't fire him.
before, during, or after the election will be based on the data, the outlook, and the balance of risks, and not on anything else.
Just a quick follow-up. Do
Johnny
your
doesn't smell
economic
like a wet
forecasts
dog
and
when he
models
gets
take
rained on?
into account the two very different economic plans of these two presidential candidates, Harris and Trump?
Whoa,
And if so, how?
versatility. She's using the
No,
other hand.
We do not do that. We absolutely do not do that. We don't know who's going to win We don't know what they're going to do. We don't act as though we know, and we just can't do that. You know, we basically, we have our forecast. We're not, we can run simulations of.
I'm still tripping on woo-wee.
I want to pass. You know, we're a non-political agency. We don't want to be involved in politics in any way, so we wouldn't do that.
Nicholas.
Thank you, Chair Powell. Nicholas Jasinski from Barron's Magazine. There hasn't been a dissenting vote on an interest rate decision in some time. If the data do evolve as you expect, if you do have more confidence by the September meeting,
that's pretty far away, bro. He's hesitant. He's being pressured. This is a Diddy situation right here.
Are there meaningful differences in committee members' assessments of how much more confidence is needed?
So there are meaningful differences. There are, and
definitely got a lizard head.
Talk a lot before, during, and after the meeting. We do have a very
microphone very easily
robust discussion of these things. You're right that in most cases, people, if they feel heard and they feel that their position has been given serious consideration, for most people, most of the time, that's going to be enough. There are dissents. That's fine. You know, no one has a veto. You know, no single person has a veto. So it just is a question of who will vote for and against. We've had dissents. We haven't had so many during the pandemic era, and it just may be that we felt more united because we felt under a lot of pressure to get things right. But before the pandemic, we had plenty of dissents, and dissents happen. It's part of the process. There's nothing wrong with dissents, and if it happens, it happens.
Jean.
Hello, Jean Young with MNI Market News. Is a 50 basis point cut as a first cut
is that way woo
on the table?
It might be.
I don't want to say.
I don't
be
think
really
she likes the
specific about what we're
microphone.
going to do, but that's not something we're thinking about right now.
And she was cocky about it.
It's a big microphone.
Jennifer.
Of course, they haven't made any decisions at all.
She held it like she had her own microphone.
Thank you, Chair Bell. Jennifer Schonberger with Yahoo Finance.
Almost like Bobber.
Not to get into the minutes, but you said there was a real discussion today for moving at this meeting. I'm curious if you could provide some more color on the nature of the discussion today at the meeting about a possible rate cut as early as September.
She asked a question.
Well,
yeah.
So
she's a mic lover. I like her.
The way the meeting is set up.
She's my favorite so far.
The first day, there's a discussion of financial stability because it's every other meeting we have that. And then we have an opportunity to comment on that. Then we have an economic go-around.
Her makeup looks like kind of smeared around her eyes like she was taking
this
some
morning, we have the monetary
monetary
policy go-around. And I think in people's economic go-around and in their monetary policy go-around, people express their views about this. And there's a range of views. People, as you will know from the speeches that they give, people have different ways of thinking about the economy. And so in the minutes, we'll lay this out in a much better way than I can do.
Having a couple
off the
microphones
cuff.
before she got that.
But there's a range of perspectives, and but I do think that we are we're a consensus-driven organization. People come together. This was a unanimous decision, and at the end, everyone supported the outcome, not just the voters, but everyone. So I would also say some people examined the possibility, the case for moving at this meeting, but overwhelmingly the sense of the committee was not at this meeting, but as soon as the next meeting, depending on how the data come in.
But there is a growing sense of confidence that you could move at the next meeting, assuming
Yes.
inflation comes.
Well, assuming that the totality of the data supports such an outcome, no question. That's
without
the
being
case that
said. Like, tell me
I
something we
mentioned,
don't understand.
It's all just words, like you said, words salad.
We think that the time it's approaching.
He can't even get it out.
And if we do get the data that we hope we get,
That was the girl he pulled his
a reduction in our
glasses down
policy
for.
rate could be on the table at the
Right,
September
look.
meeting.
Okay,
He
so
want-
you're saying at the
he likes
September
her.
meeting.
Everybody's saying September. That's why everybody's saying.
Hi,
That's
Chair
why
Powell,
Green
Nancy
Day
Marshall
protests
Genser with
on white people in
Marketplace.
September.
Former New York President Bill Dudley wrote an op-ed in Bloomberg earlier this
Very
month, which you
conservatively.
probably saw, in which he said,
I don't
quote,
even.
it
she's
might
just
already
prob-
be
I
too
don't even
late
know
to
if
fend
she
off a
does
recession by
hold
cutting
microphones
rates.
normally.
Dawdling now unnecessarily increases
She might
the
be
risk.
one of those that.
Is he wrong?
So this is the judgment that we have to make, and we're well aware of the judgment.
refer to her
We're,
as
we're, as I've said,
missionary.
we have to weigh the risk of going too soon against the risk of going too late.
He's a
If we go
missionary.
too soon, we can, we had a lot of advice, to go ahead and cut after the 7 good months of last year. We didn't. We said we needed to see more. Then we saw some higher inflation. We've seen 1 quarter of good inflation, and we've seen the labor market move quite a bit. And as I mentioned, I don't think it needs to, cool off anymore for us to get
11%.
The inflation results that are related to the labor market. Not all
a lot
inflation
of
is,
things
of
are
course.
starting to
So
go downward.
I think it's a difficult
it's
judgment to
summertime.
make, and what you see is the judgment of the committee is
Right.
that time is drawing near. That time could be in
Should be
September.
right. Should be dead.
If if the data support
Well,
that.
Johnson & Johnson, they were the only ones that
Have
made a
chances
classically
of a
prepared
hard
vaccine too,
landing
and didn't do an
increase?
mRNA preparation.
So I don't know whether they've increased. I think they're low. I think this is you don't see.
They didn't stick to the
any
program there.
reason to think that this economy is either overheating or sharply weakening. That's just not in the data.
Where are we at?
Wow, he directly said the lie there.
What are we looking at, Blood?
Market cap.
Can't hear anything. If that's what we're going for, then we can start talking, I guess. I can't hear.
Let me, I lost audio on the stream. Let me try to represent.
Represent.
Represent the represent.
Well equipped to do that.
Can you guys hear now?
But that's not
Yes,
what we're
sir.
saying. What
Be
we're
sure to
seeing
smash
is
that like button, fam.
Strong economic
That's
activity
right. Hit the
and
like, hit the
good
like.
labor market and inflation coming down.
Almost done, guys. Almost done.
Greg.
We're gonna get through this together. We're here with you.
Thank you so much. In the minutes of the June meeting that came out a few weeks ago, there was a discussion about
That's a bear if I ever
communications,
saw
and
one.
some Fed officials said maybe the Fed wasn't as clear enough about its reaction function. And
Was he
and
an
when I talk to
asthmatic,
the
Mike
commentators who bless you with their
This
comments,
person has been interfered with.
they say that they really don't have a sense of what is going to judge, maybe not the first cut, but the pace of the cuts going
he
forward.
needs
They don't
another
have a good
microphone,
sense
ladies
of
and
that. Is there
gentlemen.
anything you can say, like,
He's got
how will we
ED.
judge that?
Yeah, I mean,
His butthole doesn't.
I think the reality is that forecasters, and this isn't just the Fed by any means,
He's a taker,
forecasters
not
have
a
been
giver.
continually surprised by, for example, the strength of the
Interfered with.
economy last
That's why I
year.
called him a bear.
So I think we have to be pretty humble about giving forward guidance
bear
about
taker.
this, that, and the other thing. We need to be pretty
Well,
careful
what's
about
the point
that.
of
And,
having
when you're saying you're
damn
going to be
conference if
data-driven,
you're not giving
of course, it's
forward
always
guidance?
what the data, how they affect the outlook and the balance of risks, but nobody has great vision deep into the future. In terms of a reaction function, that's a long
Apologetics.
time discussion
skip
that people have
the
had
publishing dates, right?
forever.
What about not deep in the future? Do you have?
I
do you
think
have a
people
vision
have
of
understood
what's gonna
for a
happen in
long
not
time,
deep
actually,
future?
that we were very focused on bringing down inflation. Nobody was really confused about that. The data
speaking
have,
of the boys, that is an awesome show.
Again, you've seen significant
this season
improvement
was
in
so well
inflation
written.
just for the last
Well,
quarter.
I'm just starting to
Markets
watch.
move around
I'm like,
on that, on the data, really, not so
I think
much.
I'm on
It's
episode
not really
6 of season
what we're
1,
going
so
to
don't
do.
tell
It's
me
more just
this
that the
show is
data.
Yeah.
badass.
No
Badass.
spoilers. I'm just saying that the writing gets better.
Yeah, you got to watch
no
the
spoilers.
show, Blood. The Boys on Prime. It's badass, man. It's really good.
What is it about?
It's hard to describe. It's like superheroes in real life, but like
Yeah.
that's
So
basically
like what superheroes would be like, yeah, if it were real, but also like, so with the reality of like if superheroes were like real humans that would make maybe bad decisions, but there's also in the real world, right, media interests in representing superheroes a certain way, and in the real world, what politics would be like if superheroes really existed. So
Yeah.
like all the weird stuff you would think.
Corporations behind some of it. They're really dealing with, want to make sure their social media analytics for all these different soups are good. So it's like they have a corporate team behind some of them. It's just kind of an interesting paradigm, and it's interesting how what appears to be one thing is quite the opposite in a lot of these aspects of what you're seeing. So it's kind of like perspective of what people would think is good versus bad, but is what you think is good, is it really truly good? Is it not? Is it possibly really bad? What you think of as being bad is actually good. So it kind of gives a different perspective on things, but it also deals, I think, a lot with politics and things to that effect. And from what I understand, like as the seasons move forward, there's a lot of kind of parallels to some of the things that we're dealing with today.
Yeah, one thing is I think that they tried to overplay their hand at predictive programming on this season. And I'll agree with Memories with Mike on that level. They really pushed too hard to try to push some predictive programming stuff. Like, I mean, we already know that PR is literally the modern day word for propaganda. Like, full stop. And there's definitely some PR in this series at certain points, but you know, if you look past it, if you know how to be a little bit resistant to like media brainwashing, it's just a lot of fun. And
the characters are kind of like slightly loosely based on a variety of Marvel and DC characters, which is kind of interesting. So it's kind of like a Captain America type characters, kind of like a Wonder Woman type characters. There's this Asian girl that seems to be kind of like a Wolverine type character.
Kind of, yeah.
She heals and she just tears people up. She doesn't have claws, but there is the other one, the pop claw or something.
Yeah, but Rice, in this season, there's kind of a riff on the Spider-Man style character. I won't give you any spoilers at all, but But they finally go there and they go to all the weird places that you would think if you're like, oh, a human plus a spider, what would that really look like? It gets weird.
Well, if we're talking about like the character of the deep, I mean, I guess I can see where it could get weird.
Yeah,
they
go weirder.
I'm sure the deep has done some naughty things with fish. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, they go there and they go there again every single season, dude. It's pretty out of pocket, man. It's fun.
Yeah. I think this conversation is much better than the tail end of that crap that we were just listening to.
He's done. So thank God. We can round of applause. Yeah, he went longer than usual, right?
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't.
An hour.
Yeah, we didn't quite hit 2.5 hours like we did yesterday. We're at an hour and a half, so it's a little bit less.
I'm saying his speech, his conference. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
they gave him the blue pill.
Yeah.
I told you he seemed like when he was talking by himself before questions, he seemed a little bit more chipper. So
yeah,
and he was a lot more
the other blue pill.
And he was a lot more animated. So maybe he was just maybe he was on some Adderall, just on a little talkie.
No, just a little blue pill. He was feeling himself. Is
our Adderall blue? I'm not sure.
No,
but I want to pass. I want to pass.
No, Viagra is blue. They're God. Maybe explain the joke.
I want to pass.
Hi, my name is Wee, Chinese international student, study engineer and Web3 knowledge, like study West culture, hate pervert, and Detroit.
And Detroit. Hates Detroit.
You can't make this shit up, bro. Like,
maybe the Hodge twins made this shit up.
What in the world, bro?
It could be them. There's
what is going on, bro? She's got 178,000
We were
followers.
talking about the Hodge twins yesterday, me and Blood.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting how this parallels back.
It sure does.
It's like two sets of twins.
Hello to nigger brother Hodge twins. You two want speak interview with Tucker and little Donald Trump? I'm most influenced. I can make my nigga dream reality. Please provision response, bro. What is this, dude?
It's probably the Hodge twins in some fact.
Nah, they can't do that. That's some real, like, either good AI or an actual Chinese person that has very, very bad English.
But the whole feed is like that, though. I mean, you could read this thing for days, and it's all like written at that same level. Yeah.
Now, was she given the pass before or after when she started doing all those tweets? Is this a recent thing as far as the pass?
Yeah, I think they gave her the pass after she made a tweet about Trump.
I wonder, are the passes for sale on the Hodge Twins websites?
Maybe on a T-shirt or a bandana.
I just want to obtain one of these passes from the Hodge Twins. How does one get one?
Needs to be on a T-shirt, otherwise people won't know. I mean, it's like,
true.
Papers. Show me your past papers.
Bro, this shit.
Well, me and Blood have considered
I
getting
don't understand.
Connected at the hip.
I'm so confused.
It's the reality it's the virtual reality that we live in, or the reality show that we're watching. I told you, it's the Truman Show in real time. It's all it is.
It really is. And I told you the other day, I watched the Truman Show for the first time in maybe 15 years over the weekend.
Choose weak president and a whole country now slut. Choose weak president and a whole country now slut.
That's an AI, bro.
Emmanuel Macron.
My nigga Macaron. I can't even get it out. My nigga Macron. Your country most gay. Let me follow her. I have to follow this. This is followable.
His husband and wife.
This is followable. Oh my God, bro. All right, guys. This has been entertaining. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Follow us and follow
WW next week.
Follow we woo as well.
We and woo we. Woo we.
Woo we.
Woo we and we.
Yes, we woo.
We woo.
The trice of us. The trice magace.
Is there a woo? Is there a woo we 3 before the year ends?
A woo we 3. It's possible.
You think so, Seth?
We're in that range. I'll just put it that way. We're ranging towards it, but
that'd be a good way to prevent that would be a great way to prevent an election, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But it'd also be a good way to steal an election. Just, emergency powers.
Oh,
been done before.
Well, it kind of feels like that anyways. Like we're being set up for that anyways. So, I mean, we've talked about that. We've mentioned, the idea of no election. Yep. I know we were talking about doing an additional prepper episode, but maybe we can dive into the idea of what could or couldn't happen based off of if there is an election, if there's not an election, if the election is stolen, if Trump wins, kind of go over those scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be kind of good.
Yeah, I love that. So for the Mind Your Biz channel, one piece of kind of value added content I'm making right now is a few product reviews, right? With a little bit of that as the frame. So like this is remember the Ledger Stacks that they announced that had the e-ink? There we go. My vanity took over when I was looking for a photo. This is the new Ledger device. This is actually their hardware wallet with an e-ink screen, but Trezor just came out with some new models. Keystone came out with some new models, but you have, finally in this debate season, right, towards this election, all the candidates are discussing crypto. We need to know which assets are going to be supported and in what way by each one of these candidates. So I would love that as a topic because, man, their ideas right now, good, bad, and different, may become policy in the next 6 months. So
Rice and I are going to do a reaction video to
look what I got, Seth, at the conference.
Nice.
They gave it to me after I told them everything about how I felt about Blockstream. I had a really good conversation with the people there.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going head to head on Bitcoin only devices, I would pay money for this one over and over and over again all day.
Which one
I pay
is that?
money for the Foundation Passport 2. Reminds you like an old school candy bar phone?
Yeah, no, I saw them at the conference and they're supposed to be, I got contact for them. It does look really cool. What was the other one that I had interviewed?
Arculus?
It was like BitKey. I can't remember.
Oh, you're talking about Bitcoin only.
Yeah, but they also have they also have a multi-coin. It's like
We got Satoshi Sean in the building. I haven't seen him.
Good to see Sean.
Good to see Sean for sure. So if one, yeah, you're right, David Rombolo. Yeah, very good point. Very good point.
One of the two. I mean, yeah. Well, if the election goes kind of weird, we definitely see the CW factor being more on par, in my opinion, which we could have seen if Donald Trump would have actually been assassinated as well, which we've spoken about. So I think that if it looks like that the game is rigged again, we have one of those situations, another CW for sure. But then at the same time, you have, we talked about, what's come through our border and what kind of chaos could be ensued on that end that could cause a martial law situation that would get the military involved as well. So we're not talking about just neighbor versus neighbor per se, because again, the idea of the CW and the whole fucking country's purple doesn't really work. It's not like we talked about in the past, where you had kind of this line of division of North and South, where the viewpoints were that different. Regardless of if there were stragglers, it was pretty much known. If you're in the North, this is what your beliefs are. If you're in the South, that's what your beliefs are. But now your blue and red is so intermixed that it's just purple. And you don't
think we could have a real
I'm not saying we couldn't.
CW?
Not, I mean, it would be more conflicts. I don't think it would be like ongoing like warfare per se, but I think you would have some groups that would be pretty proactive. But I think
you're correct. Anybody right of center would be possibly. I mean, sorry for the gross characterization of it this way, but generally people right of center would be a little more prepared for open conflict like that. But an out and out CW, like you're saying, there'd be a couple of metropolitan areas that just due to population and just sheer numbers just tend to draw battle lines because of that.
I said it before, but to quote Hotep Jesus on the last time he appeared with Blood and I, the revolution will not be televised. The real shit you won't see. The real resistance you won't see.
That's right.
If it's a good resistance, and it resists the right well, you'll hear about it.
I push back. I think, thank God, we now have, it's not perfect, but we have X now. So the revolution will be Xavized.
Xavized.
I don't know, man.
I
have my concerns about spin there too now.
He's part of the plan too.
Yes,
he is.
Yes, nobody's anywhere. Nobody's where they're supposed to be without them supposed to be there, in my opinion. Because
at that level,
if you are really that much of a threat, you would not be a threat.
You wouldn't be at that level. I hear you.
Right. And conspiracy theories, like, it's funny. Some will be tolerated on certain platforms, but then others totally not tolerated. And they are getting more and more divisive and more extreme. You got everybody on the mainstream platforms who's allowed to question the validity of what we saw on TV and claiming that the whole Trump thing was staged. And then everybody right of center on other platforms saying, well, look, these people were derelict in their duty, the Secret Service, these other groups, police, they didn't do their job, and there was an attempt, and you're trying to cover it up.
So everything that I saw regarding somebody that was former CIA or anything to that effect, whether private or in the actual United States military in some capacity, all said that this was a staged operation for Trump, that the shot would have been nowhere near the target.
Nowhere near.
You don't.
That shouldn't even. We shouldn't even have to. We shouldn't even have to converse about that.
You wouldn't have to. You just all you had to have is a shooter. I get. We talked about it. We went into length, so people should check it out because I definitely liked your perspective on that.
Yeah. Well, let me throw something else out there. So, there are a couple things you can do. Things you can do to help stage something, like in the similar to up close magic. You can stage sleight of hand at a certain distance, and people just can't tell. They really can't. Yeah. And so you can. There's all kinds of things you can stage, but some of this wouldn't have been done if there were an inside plot. It would have had to have been done with the knowledge of Donald Trump. He couldn't have been totally ignorant to it, but that would have explained his immediate cool response as though there was no danger. It would have also completely explained away the immediate cool response of the not one but two people who we also positively ID'd as being present in January 6th. We saw them in the bleachers right behind him.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about our buddy, my buddy.
Yeah, your buddy. Ain't my buddy, motherfucker. Hold
on. Where were the casualties? Where were the casualties?
Listen. I will say Bruce has not responded to me in any capacity to get me in touch with said entity.
Weird.
Okay. And I'm surprised by that because Bruce
that's John
invited me-
Titor. It's John Titor. That's who it is.
Something's off.
Yeah, something's off.
Yeah. Well,
For
and
sure.
I'm right there with you. I wouldn't like presume to accuse one group or another, like because there's just not.
I wish I would have
known.
he was a time traveler because I would ask him some really better questions that might have benefited me in some capacity. Maybe a bet. I don't know.
Right.
Sports bet.
Right.
Dude, can you imagine if you had something open on Polymarket? Oh.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Dog and pony. All right, guys. I don't want to turn this into a 2.5 hour live stream.
All right, guys. That's it. Hit the like button, share, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, real quick though, we are streaming on each other's channels. We're all streaming. All three of us are streaming.
Yes, we are.
In some
Links are in the
capacity.
description.
So we should have links for each other's socials and channels down below in each other's video descriptions. So show some love, spread it all the way around. Subscribe to all of our social medias and all of our channels. Smash.
Like Judge Joe Brown would say.
That's what I was trying to do.
Smash that like button. And guess what? Kamala Harris, she's the best whore out there.
Well, you can say what she ain't. I can't.
Holla!
I don't have a pass.
Stack my coin, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, cash. Since I was born, they stack my coin. These niggas pop, my money keeps growing. The girl is a dot, she all on my groin. She blowing my horn, we fuck like porn. These rappers is whack, they lyrics is corn.
Muchos gracias.
They never get born. Load on my strap, they calling the law.
We appreciate you.
Let's go.
No,
I mean, see you next time. Like, really, we're going.
Next 3 WW days, same
Do it
3
live.
WW time.
I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Okay. Ready?
Fucking thing sucks. We'll do it live.
Okay.